This is the MeatEater podcast coming at you shirtless, severely bug-bitten, and in my case, underwearless.
We hunt the MeatEater podcast.
You can't predict anything.
The MeatEater podcast is brought to you by First Light. Whether you're checking trail cams, hanging deer stands, or scouting for elk, First Light has performance apparel to support every hunter in every environment. Check it out at firstlight.com. FIRSTLITE.com. Okay, joined today by Heather Douville. Holy cow, thanks for coming over.
Thank you.
Flying over.
Happy to be here. Yeah, it's a beautiful flight.
Yeah, you live in Craig, Alaska.
I do. Born and raised in Craig.
Born and raised in Craig. On the outside, what we hear at the inside of the island called the outside of the island.
Wait, say it again?
Like we call that the outside of the island.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Prince of Wales Island.
Yeah, like the west side of the island, the outside of the island.
Yeah, okay.
And you were born and raised there?
Mm-hmm.
And I got to plug something, and then I'm gonna ask you a bunch of questions.
Okay.
But I'm gonna plug it by asking you a question.
Okay.
We're launching a new thing called MeatEater Radio Live, and it's gonna be a show where we get it's live now. MeatEater Radio Live is live now, and it's a show where we get call-in reports from people from around the country about what's going on. And I'm gonna pitch you on being a correspondent.
Oh, I love it.
Where you'll call in. We'll be like, "What the hell are you doing right now?"
Oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah,
Please do.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
Now.
Yeah.
You'll be our correspondent from the outside of Prince of Wales Island.
Call me anytime.
So folks can check out MeatEater Radio Live. It goes live. It's live on Thursdays and then lives everywhere you get your podcast. Lives on YouTube. So we will meet you now in great detail, and then we will check in with you on that if this is cool with you.
Oh, I'd love it. Thank you. And yeah, I'm honored to be here.
Okay. Let's start with this. You're Tlingit. Explain that to me like I'm 5 years old.
Okay. So it's pronounced like Tlingit, T-H-L.
Tlingit.
Tlingit, but a lot of people say Tlingit because, when settlers came, it was easier for them to say that. But my great-grandma would say Tlingit. So a lot of our traditional words and traditional languages now difficult to pronounce for many folks.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm Tlingit. My ancestry is from here. These are our traditional homelands. My great-grandma came from Angoon.
Where's that?
It's in a little village north of here in southeast Alaska.
Okay.
But traveled down here when the cannery opened in Klawock.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the first cannery in Alaska.
Yeah. So that's what brought your mom to this island.
My great-grandma.
Your great-grandma to this island, yeah.
Yeah, and so then my grandma lived here, and my dad was born in Craig, and I was born and raised here too. So, yeah, these are our traditional homelands, and I'm really honored to be able to, carry out the traditions of our people and practice our culture today still, and I just feel like I'm standing on the shoulders of giants, and I'm really proud to be here and be able to share my culture with you.
Yeah, that's a funny thing, because I'll now and then get to feeling all like, man, we've been coming here for 17 years.
Yeah.
Don't tell me about that. I've been fishing here for 17 years. I can't even, that thing is hard to imagine. For me, it's hard to picture being in a place where it's not that your grandparents came there, your great-grandparents came there from some foreign land, but it's hard to picture what it would feel like to be in a place where your people have been there for thousands of years, right? Because in my culture, in my experience, it's so uprooted. I know some people came from Italy in the early 1900s, and I don't know, at this point, we don't even know where the hell they came from. Do you know what I mean? It's it's so like for us to get a sense of having been here, you know, like 16 years feels like a good run.
Right.
You know, and I can't, that's what it's got to be amazing to have that. I'm sure you can tell me, but I'm sure it's painful in some ways because change, but in some ways it's got to be just invigorating to have that long of a history.
You're right. It's, you know, and our history has been passed down through storytelling. You know, we didn't have it documented. There was no paper, pens, people weren't writing it down. So our culture has stayed alive for over 10,000 years, and our cultural traditions that we practice today are, you know, still a part of our lives today because of, you know, the people that came before us, and they had a responsibility to carry that on and pass that down. And a lot of that is done through storytelling. So my great grandma would say, you know, that her, you know, grandparents came from upriver. So like up the Yukon area. And
is that right?
And then so they're inland Tlingits, and then made their way down to Angoon. And yeah, despite all of the attempts for indigenous people to not be here anymore, we are still very much here and practicing our culture and carrying that on. And I feel like I have a responsibility to pass that on to the next generation, you know, to honor the people that came before me. And that's just a part of who we are. And you're right, sometimes it is painful because so much has been lost, you know, through colonization. And what we can just really do today is really practice it and revitalize it and honor who we are and share it. And I'm really glad to be here today and share this with you, and me being able to tell my story and share with you about my culture is part of that storytelling. And I hope, you know, that you go and share that with other people, and that's just how it stays alive and has for 10,000 years.
When I go to say the word, like you're talking about pronunciation, I'll hear people say, like people who are not familiar with the language, oh, you know what, let me do this before I say what I was going to say. No, I'll say what I was going to say, then I'm going to ask you another question. I hear Tlingit and Tlingit, right? Is one of those closer?
No, it's Tlingit.
Wow, but that's like people aren't going to be able to do that.
Yeah,
Tlingit.
people say Tlingit.
Tlingit?
Yeah.
And that sounds close to right?
For you.
That's what I'm saying for me.
Yeah.
Me and Seth.
Yeah.
When you hear people say that, are
It's
you just
fine.
like,
Take a stab. You say it once.
clink it?
Okay.
Yeah, it's good. I think it's good.
Clink it.
Yeah.
No good.
It's good.
Do you do it once?
Fling it.
Cling it.
Fling it.
Like-
It's like a TH.
Fling it. I'm not going to run around
Clink
saying
it.
fling it.
Clink
And
it.
it's good. My dad would say, your great grandma would say it like this.
Yeah,
know,
do that.
And that's how he,
Oh.
like that.
Okay, what does
Fling
your dad say?
it. Same. Yeah.
Give me a, since we haven't established for how I can say it.
Yeah, you can.
Cling it. Cling it. Fling it. I don't
Clink
need to be
it.
trying to mess
Clink
it
it.
up. Is that, do you guys, like from me, like coming from my influences and stuff, we would look and we'd be like, it's an Athabascan culture. Is that a thing you guys talk about?
Mm-mm.
No, like a language family, like the Athabascan language family.
No, I don't think we look at it that way.
No,
you know,
imagine
we
that,
say
yeah.
like, this is how we were taught. This is how my great grandma would say it, instead of like categorizing us into a certain, you know what I mean?
Language group, yeah.
And
Can you
there's
say a
different-
handful of things just to
There's
get a
different
feel for the language?
dialects for different areas.
Oh, there are, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Hit me with a handful of things just to get a feel for the language.
Sure. So, like, thank you in our language is goodness cheesh.
Okay.
And I don't know a lot. So I guess I should start by saying, you know, like, I'm learning. I'm always going to be learning.
Yep.
A lot of our culture and language is lost. And I hope to be fluent in my language one day. And so I'm a work in progress and always will be. So, you know, I hope those who know more than me will forgive me for if I don't do or say something right, but know that I'm learning and trying my best. So, yeah, my dad, like when we're cutting fish, he'll say, Slita, height. And that means give me the knife.
Say it again.
Slita, height. And that's like, give me the knife. If you mess up, typically like your aunties or your grandma would say, duh. And that's like, no good. Like, duh. So
that sounds like I could picture saying that to my kids.
Yeah. Duh. Humor.
And they'd like snap to attention, right?
Humor is really one of our values. So I think Tlingit people or indigenous people just always incorporate humor into everything. It's just a part of, I think, our healing too. But my dad jokes, or like I've heard people joke and say, oh, I thought my traditional name growing up was Duh. My traditional name is Kutink. I'm named after my grandma's best friend. Her English name is Irene Pradovich from Klawak.
Okay.
I don't know what my name means, but
tell me your name again.
Kutink.
Kutink.
That's my traditional name. My clan is Shankwedi, so it's a really old clan, and if you look at the clan lists of clan names online, it's not even on there. It's so old. This is my clan crest. It's tattooed on my hand. This is permanent regalia. So after like missionaries came here, the government made it illegal to have permanent regalia tattooed on you.
Can I see your hand?
Yeah, this is killer whale. So my clan is Shankwedi and I'm eagle killer whale. So then later you'll see a lot of like jewelry like this with carved clan crests on them, which is also eagle wolf killer whale. That's me. This evolved after that government ban of permanent regalia because it could be removed when it had to be removed in public.
Oh, you mean like when they banned tattooing? People just use jewelry instead.
Yeah, it was like a culture ban. You couldn't practice, speak language, have your regalia on you.
When they took kids and put them in school and stuff too, right?
My grandma went to boarding school in Wrangell and survived.
And they enforced that stuff.
But she came back and didn't speak our language again, so it was lost. But luckily my dad remembered a lot of it from his from his grandma being my great grandma. Yeah, so this is permanent regalia, but this is my clan crest, and then this is a bracelet. So this is kind of how it evolved. But you follow your mother's lineage. So like Western cultures, you take your dad's last name.
Yep.
In our culture, you follow your mother's lineage. So I would have my mom's clan crest, and my dad would be my opposite. So a lot of what we do is really try to achieve balance, whether that's like out, we'll talk about sea otters later, and like it's off balance right now with the population and the shellfish, and so like there's two clan crests in our culture. It's eagle and raven, and they're opposites. So eagle and ravens can marry each other, and you'll follow your mother's lineage, but that opposite clan crest coming together like brings balance.
Oh, really?
Okay. Yeah, so we treat our opposites try to treat everyone really well, especially elders, but we always take really good care of our opposites. So if ravens ask me to do something, I always do it for them, and it helps keep me grounded and balanced in my own way.
Explain your other tattoo on the other hand.
Yeah, so this other one is a wood hook, and in Tlingit it's called a nach, and it's a sea monster. And this is...
Can you get one out so we can show the camera?
This is the only wood hook that we've retired. And my dad and I loved it so much. It's caught hundreds of halibut. So a little over a year ago, we decided to get them tattooed on our hands.
And you're holding the actual object now.
Yeah, and this is
hold that up because people that are watching
for
can
sure.
see what you got going on.
This is the nach that we retired. So it's here. And you
can
see
you explain
here that,
everything about how it's made and how it's set and how you
yeah, you bet.
encourage it?
So this one was made in 1996. It's caught hundreds of halibut. You can see the teeth marks here. And each one has eyes so it can see what it's catching. And this one's a sea monster. And I brought a 30-year-old sea monster and then a new one that hasn't been fished yet, so you can see the color differences in the wood. And I also brought an eagle. But this is yew wood, and this part is yellow cedar. And this is a post-contact hook, so you can see there's some modern materials incorporated into this, but traditionally this barb would be made from a bear bone.
Like a sliver of shin bone or something?
Yeah, like a leg bone. Yeah, and then to secure that barb and to also secure the two pieces of wood together, we would use spruce root. And then this part here, the line, would be made from cedar bark cordage. And so these are set in pairs so they can compete against each other underwater. And they're set on like a long line, like a skate type of line. And they're set in pairs of two, and the sinkers we use is a rock with a groove carved in it.
And you still make those?
Yeah. And then traditionally the float on top of the water would be a inflated seal stomach that's dried. And then you have a tattletale buoy, which is about, this long. And usually they're in the shape of a cormorant bird. And so it's got a long neck, and a beak and face, and then a larger rounded body. And so when you had a halibut, it would tip up. So I think these would be set, and then the people would go to the beach and like build a fire and wait. And
So
you could see if you got a
bobbing.
yeah. So these are baited with octopus, and you take a octopus and you kind of shave the tentacles off in a long strip, so it looks like a lot of bait, but it's really thin and it stays light, because you don't want to put too heavy of a bait on here because it'll affect the way these float. And you'd wrap the octopus tentacles around this part, and you tie it with the string.
Oh, you secure it on there with string.
Yeah.
I got you.
And it kind of disguises this a little bit, but you bait the whole yellow cedar part. And then you lower them down. When you get to where you're going to fish, you lower them down, and you have your rock that goes first. And then about 1 or 2 fathoms, so 6 to 12 feet, you'd have your first hook. And it floats like this far off the bottom.
And what would be a deep set for you guys?
A deep set, they can go like 40 fathoms.
Okay.
So
200,
way out.
Yeah, 240 feet, yeah.
Or, we've caught fish in 40 feet of water or less, 30 feet.
Yep.
And this yellow cedar part will float level. So you don't want it to float like this or like this. So the two different woods help it float properly, and then the way you bait them. So then you set.
So those woods have like a real you have to be very careful about the size and relative amount of each kind of wood. Because I can't picture ever getting that thing to float how you'd want it to.
Yeah.
You just
so
keep
the
shaping
shape,
it. And
the shape. And then my dad measures the distance by going like this. So it's like the width of your hand.
Got it.
So you have your sinker, your first hook, and then you have about 2 more fathoms. Your second hook, your second rock sinker, and then your line up to your float. So it's not a big, it's not a long set. And then when you set them, you kind of, like you said, you knock and hit the rock on the ground and make sure you wake up the halibut. And then when halibut go to eat, they can't see very good because they have eyes on the top of their head. So they go up to whatever they're eating and they open their mouth and it creates a vacuum. It'll suck this in. And then if they don't like it, they'll spit it out and it ejects that barb into their cheek and they can't get off here. You can't release halibut off of here either.
When he's on there, he's on there.
Yeah, so sometimes you catch a really big one. You might not want to normally keep one that size, but these are not for catch and release. But the good thing is you're setting 2 hooks, so you can't catch more than 2 fish, and you don't want to over harvest. You want to make sure, like we maintain that balance and don't take more than what we need.
What's your ideal size?
I think anywhere like 80 pounds would be good, or 50 to 80 pounds, because we like to have fillets like this long.
Yep.
Because we take the fillet and leave the skin on the back of it and then cut this long strips of about 1/4 inch thick halibut and then dry it, make dried fish. We also lightly smoke it in the smokehouse and then dry it. So typically we fish for halibut to make dried fish.
And you brine that dry fish. Or just put it in there fresh.
We brine salmon, but we don't brine halibut. You just sprinkle a little salt on it.
And dry it in your smokehouse.
We smoke it in the smokehouse and dry it in,
so when you
in
use
a
dry,
drying shed.
I say when you use dry, you don't mean you don't dry it out with fire. You just dry it out in a shed.
Right. Yeah. We don't use a dehydrator. Just we use spruce sticks and hang it over the spruce sticks. They can hold a lot of weight.
Mm-hmm.
And
how do you control? Is there a time of year? How do you control flies and stuff when you do that, or just that salt repels them?
Yeah. So we have a fan on them.
Okay.
Yeah, we keep fan blowing on them. We have a little homemade drying shed out of wood, and the drying time really does depend on the time of year, the climate. If it's hot out, it's going to take less time to dry, and if it's cold and winter time, it'll take a little bit longer.
What's the word you were saying that when you send a hook down, they're down there to compete?
Here, I'll give you one if you want.
But there's a word you use that you basically a last word of encouragement.
Yeah, so you try to put good energy into what you're doing and everything that you do. And so when we set these, we give them encouraging words, and we you could say jindagut, which is like charge or fight, or there's a little bit of a longer saying too, where it's do the best you can, your friend is coming to fight you, and you lower them and say that. And then
tell me that one.
That's cool.
Let's see, it's Ikuayach Juan Wede Jindagut Ia Cow. That's do the best you can, your friend is coming to fight you, and you're kind of telling both them and the halibut we're coming to compete. So they compete against each other. It's kind of fun, especially for my niece and nephew, to pick out which ones are going to be set together.
Yeah.
And
you said the eyes are abalone shells.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the abalone?
So these sea monster hooks have abalone eyes. And this is an eagle. It doesn't have abalone eyes, but it does have eyes so they can see what they're catching. And you can see all the teeth marks in that one.
Yeah,
it's caught hundreds of fish.
Oh, it's been worked over.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you dry, you get halibut to dry.
Yeah.
Would you ever just take a piece of halibut and fry it up or bake it or grill it?
Yeah.
So you do that? Okay, yeah.
We do.
Is that not a favorite fish?
Yeah, it's so funny because we hear, halibut, but we prefer to dry it and then eat other fish.
What's your
the
favorite?
way that you described.
What's your favorite fish to
probably
eat?
King salmon.
Okay, where do you put cod? We've been catching a lot of cod. I love them.
Ling cod is really good.
Like gray cod or Pacific cod.
Honestly, I don't think I've ever had that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you like ling
I
cod?
think my dad says it's pretty good.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, Pacific cod. But
if it wasn't morning time, I'd fry you up a home.
Yeah. Breakfast sandwich. So yeah, prefer king salmon.
You like king salmon?
Yeah.
What I know the state of Alaska's they're kind of duking this issue out, but what would it mean if king salmon were listed as under the Endangered Species Act? Would you guys have an exemption? Would Native Alaskans have some kind of exemption to the closures?
It doesn't sound like it, no. But
Doesn't sound like there'd be an exemption for native
right.
use.
Not the way that not from what I've learned. But yeah, it would be devastating.
That would be a real life if that's your favorite fish.
Yeah,
And your father is a king salmon fisherman, isn't he? Doesn't he patrol?
Yeah. And my brother, they're commercial trollers.
Okay.
But trolling is one of the oldest fisheries.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sustainable hook and line.
Very, very selective.
Yeah, and we've been here for thousands of years, and salmon has always been a part of our way of life, which is hakustei. It means our way of life, and I can't even imagine a life without being able to put up our traditional foods. And you think about subsistence use, which I try not to use that word because we try to say traditional harvest.
Yeah.
To me, subsistence implies like that you're scraping by, or
Well, it's also a management term.
Right.
In Alaska, it's like
Right.
people don't realize, but in Alaska there's like subsistence regulations, right? But
Right.
you don't see like a traditional use regulation.
right. And
Yeah.
if you look up the word subsistence, it really doesn't encompass who we are and what we do. But traditional harvest, or subsistence, if you will, takes the least amount from a resource. Resource is also a management term.
Mm-hmm.
Because we believe we're stewards of this land. So resource to me implies that you're taking from something. But when you live here, you try to live, and be a good steward. So if you take, you give back, or you don't take more than what you need.
Mm-hmm.
And you need fish to get fish. So you're not going to go to a river and just because you have a limit to take and you see it's depressed, you don't fish.
Yeah.
So you might get 5 deer tags, but you're a household of 1. You might take 1 deer and then get 1 for an elder. But you just don't take the maximum because the law says you can.
Yeah.
So that's...
You don't view it as a goal.
No, and it's just about taking what you need and then using what you take for, to sustain you for that year, and then you go harvest the next year. Or if you have some left over from the year before, you don't need to harvest that much the next season. So yeah, making sure you respect yourself. It's called kaya aune, which is like having respect for yourself in all things. So if you have that self-respect to do those things, like you'll have respect for other people in land, air, water, and all the things that live around you.
Your father and your brother are trollers,
Mm-hmm.
king salmon trollers. What is the time of year that they are actively fishing, and why didn't you go into that line of work?
Yeah, so the king salmon troll opening is on July 1st every year. And I'm sure you've heard, like, because of the ESAs, and just there's been a lot of like pressure surrounding king salmon and commercial fishing, and
Yeah.
but over the years I've heard my dad talk about how, like, it's become less and less, and like obviously more people move to Alaska. There's a sport fishing industry, there's commercial fishing, and more people here, and everyone's taking a piece of the pie. Well, the pie isn't getting bigger, it's getting smaller. So the reason why I didn't go into that line of work, I think, is just because my brother and I are a year and a half apart. He's a year and a half older, so he was always going with my dad and crewing for him.
Got it.
Yeah, and my dad was always like, you need to go to school, you need to go get your education, which I did go for 2 years, but I came back, and he after I moved back, he said, you need to go finish and get your degree. And finally I looked at him and I said, I am in school. We're out in the boat and I'm learning how to do all these things. And I said, I'm in the school I want to be in.
Mm-hmm.
And he got it.
He quit beating you up about it.
And
Yeah.
ever since then and before then, I've just been trying to learn everything I can from him. And these are the things that I really want to learn and practice so I can pass them on. And that this is something I can't learn in school. I'm not against school, but
Where did you try to go when you went?
I went to Santa Barbara City College.
Uh-huh.
I played basketball there.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Did you play basketball growing up?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was telling the float plane pilot who dropped me off here.
Vance, Black
Yeah.
Rock Aviation.
That's how
Nice guy.
He's so nice.
He's
That's
the
how we
best.
traveled for all of our games.
Float planes.
Mm-hmm. In Southeast. So our school would charter planes, and we would leave from Hollis often, and oftentimes and go fly, and we'd stay the weekend in other towns, and we'd have to stay with the opponents' families. So like we'd go home and like sleep on their bedroom floor after we played them. Be all mad whoever won or lost, But we made a lot of great friends like that throughout Southeast. And
So you went down to Santa Barbara. I thought
did.
you'd go to school.
yeah, it was good, and it was good to go and get that experience and that perspective
Mm-hmm.
of a different place. So busy.
You
and-
enjoyed it while you did it?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's the sun and sand and
Getting all that oil on your feet at the beach?
Yeah, it's
Remember
good.
that? Yeah.
It's good to. Oh yeah, forgot about that. I think it's important to do that, and then you come back, you really appreciate,
Mm-hmm.
what you have and the people in your life. So
So what do you call your business and describe? I'm sure I know you do a handful of things, but your business of fur products.
for sure.
Yeah.
So I started this little business, and the main goal of that was to try to recoup the costs of hunting, processing, and sewing sea otter fur.
Mhm.
I work with some seal skins because we do harvest seals to eat. We make oil and eat seal meat, but we only get about 2 a year. So I mainly work with sea otter fur, but I started the business to try to sell items to recoup the costs of for hunting. So in this region, Southeast Alaska spans a distance of 13 states, so it's enormous.
Mhm.
If you look at it on a map, it doesn't look that big, but it's a humongous region. And a recent aerial survey showed that there's like 22 to 25,000 sea otter in this region. And I'm not sure, well, I guess I should ask, do you want the lengthy answer to that question?
Give me the
or
big, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I want the big lengthy answer, and I want you to explain who can hunt sea otters
Okay.
and who can't.
I'll cover it all.
Yeah.
So today, there's like 25,000 sea otter in the region.
Mm.
Historically, there was the commercial fur trade, for about 150 years. Russians enslaved Alaska natives to hunt, and they would sell the furs commercially, primarily to China. So for about 150 years, there was a commercial fur trade in Alaska, and over 1 million sea otters were taken. And then in 1911, there was a fur seal treaty signed, which put a stop to that commercial fur trade, which also put a halt to the harvest of sea otters, but they're almost extinct. So there's 0 sea otters left in southeast Alaska, or nearly zero. And then, so that was in 1911. And then there was Amchitka Island in the Aleutians is the largest nuclear test site in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
And so the government was planning to do some nuclear tests in the late 1960s at Amchitka, and they were concerned about how that would affect the sea otter population. So in the late 60s, they actually captured around 400 sea otters and put them in these metal kennels with water in them,
Mm-hmm.
and flew them to southeast Alaska and relocated about 400 of them to 7 different areas.
Oh, so it was like a reintroduction. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I believe one of the areas is now, it's called Sea Otter Sound,
Mhm.
Prince Wales. So they were reintroduced here in the late 60s, and then there was that massive nuclear test in 1971 in Amchitka. It was like hundreds of times larger than the bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like a mile down underground, and it created such a huge explosion that it actually wiped out, I think, over 900 sea otters. So a lot more than they thought would die. Now I'm going off on a tangent here, but that's why Greenpeace was formed. 'Cause
Okay.
There was a group of people from Canada in 1971 who were protesting that nuclear test, and the name of the boat that they tried to travel to protest that test was called Greenpeace.
Oh, you're kidding
And
me.
so they tried to make it all the way up to Amchitka to stop the bomb.
Yeah, I didn't know that was
Or
I
the
didn't know that
test,
was like
not
the
the bomb.
genesis of Greenpeace.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So then the Marine Mammal Protection Act was put in place, I believe, in 1972, which part of that Marine Mammal Protection Act states that you must be a certain blood quantum of coastal Alaska native blood quantum. It's 25% in order to hunt sea otter.
Okay.
And today, there aren't that many people who are qualified to hunt through the eligibility rules of the Marine Mammal Protection Act.
Do you have any idea how many, like, just to take on Prince of Wales Island? Do you have any idea how many people are 25% coastal native?
I don't know how many meet the eligibility, but I do know, like, it's illegal for me to teach my niece and nephew how to work with furs. They can't make seal oil. They can't cook the meat. They cannot help skin one. So there's, it's like criminalizing our cultural pass down and our hakustei, our way of life, because we want to be able to, our culture has survived this long, despite all the attempts to make it not survive. And it really deserves to be passed down for that much longer. And I don't know how many people qualify, but I do know.
Would it be in the hundreds or
effects
thousands?
I don't know, but I do know there's only about 35 hunters in the region.
Okay.
So there's very little incentive to hunt, because another part of the Marine Mammal Protection Act states that you must convert the pelts into a sellable item to try to recoup the cost. So you have to significantly alter the pelts, so you can't make them whole again. So you cannot sell whole pelts.
I mean, you can't just shoot a sea otter, flesh it, stretch it, dry it, and send it to a fur market.
Right. Or
No.
send it off to get it tanned and then sell a whole tanned pelt. I brought some pelts to show you too. But so by the time you know how to hunt, and then go harvest sea otter, skin, flesh, salt, get it tanned, get it home, learn how to sew or have had somebody teach you how, convert the, cut it, sew it, make your pattern, get it right, and then have it the quality that somebody wants to buy, and then market those items. It really, I don't think you're ever going to make your money back. But so a long answer to your question is I started this business. It's called Coastal Fur and Leather, and it's just to sell the items that I make to try to recoup some of those costs, because there's so many sea otter in this region now and so few hunters that our traditional food security is at risk. So, for 10,000 years, we've harvested shellfish from our intertidal zones here, which are now, there's so many sea otter in the area, and they eat 25% of their body weight in shellfish a day. So the average sea otter, let's say it weighs, 70, 80 pounds, could be eating anywhere from 15 to 20 pounds of seafood a day, every day. And
Can you pull out that big ass hide just to show?
For sure.
I was when you pulled that out earlier, I was quite surprised.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So they do
that one of those could get that big.
Yeah, they get up to 100 pounds.
I a couple years ago saw like 30 of them all together, and like I didn't know that they ate that much.
Yeah.
So just thinking about like how much seafood that 30 of those things are eating in a day, it's crazy.
Yeah. So in where we used to harvest sea urchins and abalone, last year we were able to get a few. Well, about 10 sea otter moved in there, and there's none left. So just 10 sea otter in a small area can really do some damage, and then it takes 50 years before it'll recover. But here's the pelt.
Man, look at that thing. It's like a bear.
I can't believe how big.
I measure. It's 58 inches long.
And talk about tell folks about some of the qualities of the hair.
Oh yeah, so they do have guard hair, but it's not like like a beaver where it's like long hairs. They're really close. The guard hair is really close in length to their undercoat, and they have about 1 million hairs per square inch. So there's more hair in 1 square inch of a sea otter than there is on an entire German Shepherd, just to kind of put it in perspective.
That's crazy.
And sea otter don't have a fat layer like seals, so they actually have a really high metabolism that they rely on, for warmth. And then also this undercoat, it stays dry, and they're always grooming themselves to make sure their fur is staying the way it needs to be able to trap that air and keep them warm. So their guard hair gets wet, but this under layer stays dry, unless they're diving down, and then the pressure will push, water back into there. And so they'll come up, and you'll see them grooming a lot. So they do have really unique fur. I learned that in the fur trade era, it was referred to as soft gold.
Cool.
Yeah, they have different. So they have different like textures and colors. So each one is very unique. And I brought a couple here, and you can see like this one's curly. You can actually see that.
So much darker.
God, it's incredible, man.
But they are incredibly
So
soft and.
Dude, that is just wild.
You were saying these things
quality of that fur
can dive up to 300 feet.
Yeah, so they can dive up to 300 feet, but I think they don't prefer to do that. So you'll find them in a lot in the shallow intertidal areas where we're also trying to harvest shellfish from those areas. They're hanging out there because it's easier to dive. Food's more accessible. It's easier to get. And yeah, you may see a raft of 30 or 300. A lot of times the males, bigger males, will be like loners. You'll see singles kind of floating here and there. Typically those tend to be like a male, big male. But I learned that hunters have the ability to collect the most data on these because we're the ones, skinning them. And
Yep.
I think a lot of biologists, they can't harvest, so they can observe to collect data. So I really was worried about traditional food security and started to up my game as far as hunting goes. So my dad and I, we hunted like over 170 this winter, which is a lot of.
And there's no guys. There's no limit for you guys, right?
Right. And at the
But
rate
that's a
they're
hell of. But you got to. So when you send 170 in to start making all your hats and other products.
Yeah, they're about.
When we talked on the phone one time, you mentioned what a
yeah. They're $100 each to tan.
Yeah, so you got to have you got big out of pocket expenditure.
Yeah.
And like in a normal like fur trap or whatever, it's like you get it, you put it up, it's out the door. You don't need to invest more money.
Right.
Yeah.
Into like tanning it,
and gratefully, like I know how to sew. So my auntie taught me how to make moccasins when I was 12, but I actually learned to sew with leather when my parents had Regalia made for me. When I was in 2nd grade, they had a deerskin dress made for me, and I took the scraps and I made matching Regalia for my Barbie. And that was my first experience working with leather, and I always liked it. And then I learned how to make moccasins when I was 12. But the items I sell, they are like higher priced, but they actually don't sell for as much as what they would be appraised for, because of the value is a lot higher than what the items sell for, but they last forever. So my moccasins that I made when I was 12, they stretched as my foot grew, and they just wore through. So they lasted almost 25 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm doing the math now to figure out how old you are.
Well, I'm 38. They wore out last year, and I have avoided making myself a new pair until this year. I wore them with a big hole in them. So yeah, so it was about $18,000 to tan those pelts. Plus, it's to send out 30 to 35 salted dried pelts. It's about $600 in shipping one way, and that's about half that to ship them back.
What I thought was funny is we send stuff off every year just to do things, product. We just have stuff made. Like me and Seth have like big beaver blankets, but we use that Moyle.
Yeah.
In Idaho. And when I asked you where you send them to, and you said Moyle, I thought that was funny.
Yeah, I was telling you. So you get a discount if you sell or if you send like a certain amount. So I think it's 21 pelts to. I'm going to get this wrong, but there's like a range.
Yeah.
Where it's
like 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 above, or whatever the hell it is.
And then there's also a break if you send like over 100. So I try to send a whole lot, and you get a little bit of a price break, which if you're sending that many, it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, it makes a difference.
And there's not every tannery can tan marine mammal fur. So there's only about 5 tanneries on the list right now that can tan sea otters.
Okay.
Moyle Mink is one of them, and they do a tremendous job. If you look at the back of this,
it's a classy outfit, man.
Oh, they do.
I've never been there, but
no, I just mean just like interacting with it online and stuff. It's a classy outfit, and the customer service is good.
Yeah, I mean, they actually don't do online for sea otters.
Well, they don't. Oh,
no,
okay. Yeah.
But they are great, and you put so much into these. Like when I send them off, and I'm like, oh gosh, please make it down there, and please let them come back nice.
It'd be devastating, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
You almost want to fly them down yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
When they come back, they're beautiful. Like this is nice cream colored. It's really soft. Sea otters smell really bad, so you want to make sure you're sending them to a good tanner so they don't come back stinky.
Yeah.
I've seen some.
They got to order to them. Just a fishy,
I've seen some
rotten
tanneries
fishy order.
Where they come back and they smell. So
I need to see that curly one again.
Yeah, this This one's pretty unique, and I actually got like 5 out of the batch that were curly, which you don't really find that often.
Then how much time are you spending, like, when are you doing your sewing? That is wild, man.
Yeah, so it's typically a winter activity, you know, where the light hours are shorter, and our food harvest season's over.
Mm-hmm.
So after I get my deer, you know, in the fall, I start sewing and hunting, because you're trying to replenish your materials for the next sowing season. But I hunt, you know, to preserve, you know, our traditional foods security, and also to be able to continue to practice my culture and pass that down.
Mm-hmm.
How do you go about hunting these?
Yeah.
What's your strategy?
I was thinking about this. So I was thinking about showing you this, but it looks so funny because I went and sighted in my Sea Otter gun a couple days ago.
What's your Sea Otter gun?
I was practicing my boat stance for hunting sea otter and shooting at the gong to make sure I would be able to get one. So it's a lot easier if you have a driver.
Mm-hmm.
The driver has to be eligible to hunt.
Oh, they do.
Or to
No, it makes sense. Yeah.
So
they got to be the blood quantum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my dad and I usually go together, but I have gone alone.
Mm.
It's definitely a lot harder. So when you get one, you're like, oh, woo, you know, like I did good. But so you typically shoot from the boat. Sometimes you can get off on a rock, but it's really not common because they're smart and they adapt. So sea otters that have been hunted before, they know what's going on and they get out of there real fast.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're cruising by, you know, if you're going sport fishing or just cruising on your boat, they'll just look. But if you slow down, they know.
They know what's up.
Especially the ones that have been hunted before. You can tell when one hasn't.
We hunt an animal, you're probably familiar, pronghorn or antelope, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny, man. You could cars could drive by at 60 miles an hour all day. You so much
Mm-hmm.
slow down.
That's how this is.
Yeah, they know what's up, man.
It's totally different. Yeah, my dad's like, we need to get a recording of a boat going, you know, on step and play it as you're idling up. But okay, so I was shooting with, up until Christmas, my dad got me an AR for Christmas, but until then I had a pre-64 22 Hornet. Is rechambered to a 222.
Mm-hmm.
It's real heavy.
Yeah.
Has like a 1.5 pound trigger pull. So, you know, you think about shooting and it's going to shoot because you got to be right on.
And you're shooting off the rail of the boat, which is not stable.
Well, no, not the rail.
You're not?
Yeah, just offhand.
Oh, so you're in the boat offhand.
Yeah.
Now, why is that?
Because you don't want to rest on the boat because the boat's moving. So the stance is that.
See, that's good to know. I mean, I'm not going to put it to use, but I would have pictured shooting off a boat. I would have pictured you would use the rail and somehow touch the trigger as you swing through.
Yeah.
So that's not what you're doing.
Well, not off a rest, but you do time it. So your driver, or you, if you're driving, you want to go around the sea otter, so where you're lined up to go with the chop.
Okay.
Not against it.
Understood.
So you want to kind of make sure you know where the chop's going and get on that side. And then you'll be going with the chop, so it's less bouncy. And then you stand up and you bend your knees.
Stand up and show us.
Okay. This bench is kind of, so you stand up and you bend your knees and you kind of get on your tippy toes.
Got it.
And then you're going to aim, you know, offhand. So when
on your tippy toes.
Yeah, you can't see me, but then when you're going with the chop and they're moving and you're moving.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that. Everybody's moving.
Yeah, they're moving. Well, they're trying to get away and they're moving in the swell. You're going with the chop and idling. And so you want to be able to use your tippy toes and your knees to balance you, so you're kind of right on them. And then when your crosshairs cross their head, that's when you want to shoot.
And what distance are you normally getting to them?
You want to get as close as possible, but
Give me a ballpark.
maybe 50 yards.
Okay.
So getting a deer to you is probably a cakewalk.
The shot.
The shot.
Yeah. I mean, compared to this, they're honestly hard to get. They are. Some days you might get 9, and then some days you might get 1. It just depends on, especially if you're out of practice. You know, if you haven't shot in a while, you're like.
Well, see, what you're saying is another thing I hadn't thought. Just like I would have thought you shoot off the rail. Okay.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know that. But the other thing you're saying that I hadn't thought about is you picture that thing's riding a wave and you're riding a different wave or a different sequencing.
And you're moving, and they might be moving this way, but they might be in a pod like you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Usually it's pods of over 100. You know, you might shoot at a single, but you're also looking because we don't want to shoot any that have pups.
Yep.
So, and we shoot them in the head, make sure they don't stop first. So you're looking and you're going, okay, that's a double. There's a single.
Mm-hmm.
And you're selecting them, or I am. I don't shoot any with pups. So.
And they're buoyant. Like you hit them, you don't got to hustle over there and gaff
Yeah,
it.
so they do float. And my dad got me an AR for Christmas, so has a bull barrel. It's heavy, and
What kind of AR is it?
it's a Rock River.
It's got a heavy barrel on it.
It's got a bull barrel.
Did you Cerakote it because all the salt water?
No.
Is it just
No.
a rusty mess?
No, I mean it's new,
Yeah.
but yeah. So because sometimes you can get a second shot before they dive. Once they start diving, they're getting out of there and they're harder to get. So when you're going up to them and they kind of go, is where you shoot and you could get another shot off if you miss.
So you're
And then
waiting
they
for that
go,
little
"Whoop."
moment when they check out what's up.
Yeah, they're like, whoa.
Yep.
And then when they go down, it's like, oh, now we got to go try to get them, go after them. So then you're playing the game of where's it swimming? Which way is it going?
Mm.
How far is it going? How long can it hold its breath?
Oh.
Oh, so you're trying to keep up with it, so when it pops up, you're
Yeah.
shooting
So you
again.
kind of want to get them right when you get there.
Yep.
So you got to be ready with the chop, ready to aim, in your stance, ready to go.
And so when you get one, you go over and haul it up in the boat. And do you skin on the boat or do you take them all home?
It depends. It's best to skin them on the boat, it's just easier, but you want to skin them right away because of their fur density. Even when it's cold out, 20 degrees out, they will hold their body heat so well that they'll get a green belly within the night. Like if you were to leave them the next day, they'll get spoiled.
Yeah, I got you.
So you want to skin them right away. And then I actually put them in the freezer and then wait till I get the lot where I can get the tanning break, cost break. And I'll flesh like 30 at a time, or 30 in a day. So I might flesh 60 in a weekend.
Mm-hmm.
But I use a pressure washer to flesh them. It has a
I
know you
see-
said you were against that, but
No, let me explain myself. I see you have the perfect setup because like I've never done it, but
Okay.
it's like a debate in the fur handling thing, the pressure washer thing. And so a buddy of mine that puts up hundreds of beavers every year.
Mm-hmm.
I called him and he brought up 2 details I hadn't considered before. I said, or I texted him, whatever the hell it was. I was like, what's up with do you do the pressure washer deal? And he raised 2 very good points. He lives in northern Minnesota, so it's like oftentimes sub-zero.
Right.
Okay, so you can have a frozen mess. And he also says, I don't like blasting half of a beaver all over my yard.
Yeah.
Where you can go down to the tide line.
Right. Like right down here.
You can go down to the tide line and just like
Well, we have to wait
just blast
for the
into
hose to thawed.
blast into the tide line and everything just comes up and eats it and it washes out and it's like you don't have your cleanup is just you don't have all that cleanup.
Yeah, you're right.
And I've seen you do it. It's a clean job.
Yeah, it's
I mean, the finished product is beautiful.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and I'm not too aggressive because, I don't want to blast holes in this, but
have you ever done one with a draw knife?
No.
Did your dad grow up doing them with a draw knife?
Yeah, or we skin them real close, so you wouldn't have to.
Oh yeah, clean skin them.
Yeah, if you're trying to do this and recoup costs, you want to be as efficient as possible, and that is the most efficient way because you're already putting so much time into like converting these to sellable items that it just doesn't make sense to flesh, over 100 of them by hand. Yeah. My dad says that the pressure washer seems like it works best for like heavier hides like sea otter, seal, maybe bear, but he hasn't used it on beaver pelts. He said it's just as fast to do a beaver by hand than it would be
to
do it with a pressure washer. But we use a oscillating nozzle.
Yep.
And then I had a piece of aluminum which worked great, but it blew into the water when I was doing it, or so I lost it. So now I use plywood.
How big's your piece of aluminum?
Like as big as a sheet of plywood, but it blew away. Crushed me.
I gotta take you out to my junkyard. My junkyard, which is about 10 feet that way. It's not that big, but I do got a hunk of aluminum I need to show you.
Might be missing when I leave here. I know, I'm like still like real hurt about my aluminum being gone.
I don't have a sheet, but I got a hunk of aluminum. It's probably not gonna do any good.
So I rest the plywood now on a sawhorse, a construction sawhorse, and I use the woodworking clamps and clamp. It's like halfway down, and this will hang over.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could just start and make a line and blast all that off, turn it around, and you can blast a pelt like this size, flesh it in about 4 minutes. And then the bigger ones like this will take maybe twice that long. They're a little thicker. They're actually harder to flesh.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but still, fleshing that thing in 8 minutes is...
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, with a draw knife,
way
man,
quicker than
you can do that in 8 minutes.
Fleshing knife.
Yeah, and it's been really nice and like makes me feel good as people really want to help. And so there's a guy in Craig who runs this seafood. Like they buy all the fish from the trawlers, and they have, I guess, like a seafood processing business. Yeah. So he donates salt to me. So like 500 pounds of salt a winter he'll give me, like a big pallet of salt. Yeah. He's like, I'm supporting the cause, and people want to buy me ammo, or because they want to get shellfish and they know that sea otter are wiping them out and they want to help in any way they can. So I've had people bring me coffee when I'm out there fleshing in the freezing rain, and people will come up with like a hot coffee because they know I'm out there. They can see the spray on my beach, and I'm like, thank you so much. It's like hailing and horrible, but it's all really worth it. And
what are some of the things you make?
Yeah.
Do you wholesale? Do you sell it all yourself? Like how do you work?
Yeah. So you can't, I think another part of the Marine Mammal Protection Act is like you can't like commercially sell items, so it's just like handicraft and small scale. But I actually hand sewed everything until this year. I got a first sewing machine.
But okay.
And
you got to back up because the thing you said I don't understand. You can't commercially sell. Like I don't. So you mean
think like mass produce?
Okay, so you couldn't go to like what's a store that's open nowadays? It's not closed. I was gonna say like Sears, but
yeah, I think I may have said that wrong.
Like Cabela's or something.
Yeah,
I'm thinking like fancy. Macy's.
Oh, fancy.
You can't go to Macy's and they can't be like, we want 100,000 sea otter scarves.
I wouldn't be able to do that.
Okay,
anyway,
we want 1,000 sea otter scarves. That's too.
Yeah, I think it says mass produce.
So you
could make it though. Mm-hmm. Like could I buy 10?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But you probably couldn't have like a bunch of employees just sitting there all day long sewing for you.
You probably can't send it to like a sew shop overseas, maybe.
No, you definitely can't send it overseas. You cannot send it out of the country.
Are you personally sewing everything?
Yes. And I make my own patterns. So I brought this hat. Oh, this is like one of the things I make. This is a aviator hat, or they call it a bomber hat.
Yeah, that's called the perfect hat. But
Yeah.
there's one modification I need to tell you about, but
Oh, I need to know. This is moose leather, moose suede, and sea otter. And I actually lined the cap portion with fleece because sea otter fur is so warm.
it's just too damn hot, huh?
Yeah, you will overheat unless you're in like 60 below. So I put a cord lock on here because it's kind of a pain to tie this when you have gloves on or just in general, and then you can wear it with the flaps up and just use that cord lock. But so this is one of the items that I make, and I made this pattern. So it takes like 5 or 6 tries to make it fit nice.
Mm-hmm.
But you want to.
Do you have people send their head size when they want to do custom?
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
custom that, man.
I can do. Yeah.
Now, people ask why I don't wear a helmet on my snowmobile because I'm too busy wearing one of these.
You know what that?
Oh, it's the best. I mean, not Sea Otter, but the
try
style.
that on, and it covers your ears, it actually makes good ear protection.
Oh yeah.
It's not gonna work. Oh yeah, no, yeah, you can't hear a thing. When I'm out ice fishing, my kids are yelling at me. I don't hear anything.
Well, that looks good.
That's a ticket right there.
You have to
That looks nice.
trade in whatever hat you're wearing for sea otter.
I gotta quit. I know, but that's gonna be. What's sad is. Put my thing back on. No, I'll just come out. What'd be sad is giving up on, my own beaver cap. But here's the deal. See, you guys, you live in the cloudiest place on the planet, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had one made with muskrat that instead of having this, it's got a little leather bill.
Oh.
Which is a lifesaver. Out ice fishing in the bright ass sun.
For sure.
Yeah, you need like a little something, and that really.
I've seen people wear that over their hat.
Yep, that's my buddy Travis. He had one, and I was telling him about that, and he says he pulls it on over his baseball cap.
Yeah, because the rain here too.
Yep.
It'd be nice to have
Keeps
a bill.
the rain off.
That's a beautiful hat, though.
Well, I'm gonna try that then and call it the Steve Rinella.
Yeah, I don't know what else you could call it.
Yeah.
Steve Reno.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little leather bill. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Let me see the scarf
really
now.
Appreciate it. Oh yeah, I brought.
Do you mind saying? No, of course you don't mind saying.
But
so what do you got? What do you get for that? What do you sell that hat for? Someone wants a Sea Otter hat.
On my website, those are $700. Yeah. This is a double-sided Sea Otter scarf. It has a magnet to hold it in place because one of my friends bought one for his wife, and she was hiking and lost it. And so she was like in tears. So I made a magnetic closure so it wouldn't fall off.
Some other person's gonna hike down that trail and think it's just a dead animal laying there. Yeah.
And
can I tell you a funny story about? So I had a muskrat hat, and there used to be this spot I would trap every year, this marsh, and there's like this spot where I'd pull over and trap muskrats in this marsh. And I lost my muskrat hat in the winter trapping, and didn't know where I lost it. And then in the spring, me and this dude named Barefoot were driving up to this place called Cisco Bayou, and I see what I think is, I'm not kidding you, I see a roadkill at the marsh. I see a roadkill muskrat in the bank.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, oh my God, pull over. So I go to grab the roadkill muskrat. It's my hat melting out of the snowbank like a snowplow truck.
So
a snowplow
funny.
truck had pushed it up into the bank on the side of the road.
How lucky that you
I was like, holy shit, it's my hat. Yeah, then I
awesome.
lost it again and it's gone.
I feel like it will find its way back to you.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Don't give up.
It's been a while. But that was funny when you said someone was out hiking with. But man, this is like my wife.
I actually brought that for you.
See, I always give my wife
that
goofy
for
stuff
you
like
to give to your wife.
Yeah, she'll actually like this. Like I'll get stuff. Me and Seth found a weird rock.
Yeah.
And I had earrings made out of that weird rock.
Oh, that's nice.
And she said
she feels
that it looks.
Magnet? What did she say?
That it looks like something from Lord of the Rings.
What you gonna say about this?
No, she's gonna like that. She's gonna no. That's her style. And I had her a big red fox scarf made, but it really says hello before you do because it's like huge. But that's like subtle. Yeah, it's actually beautiful.
I have other scarves. They're shorter, and you can actually put a scarf in it, so they're interchangeable. So you can wear it as a headband, and then when you go inside, wear it as a scarf, and you can swap out the insert to match any outfit. But yeah, I can make like hats, blankets, moccasins, scarves, purses. I make sealskin purses and wallets. And
what's a sealskin? What do you gotta get for a sealskin purse?
I sell them for $600. I haven't sold a wallet yet. I actually make.
Can I see the wallet?
Yeah, I make.
Dude, this stuff is so cool, man.
I make these
So
and then I
soft.
test them to make sure that they're the best quality before posting it for sale. So
you put a little money in there, go buy something.
this is
Just make sure it works good. So that's a Harbor Seal wallet.
Mm-hmm. So I want to make sure they're quality because they're an investment. So I'm testing it out.
It's gorgeous.
Thank
Do you have good luck? I mean, are you able to sell as much as you can make?
So far I have been able to recoup my costs. I don't think you'll ever.
No. I mean, like, are you able to find a market? You know what I mean? Or are you backlogged? Do you have a lot of fur that you haven't been able to get sales on?
I think what limits me is my time.
Okay.
Because I work full time, at a regular job, and then this is what my dad calls it, my hobby, which is becoming, a little side.
So you
business.
you could sell it as fast as you can make it. The bottleneck is making it.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of fur sewers.
That's incredible.
Who work with Sea Otter who are selling items, so I think they're harder to find.
Yeah.
And
dude, you know what? You know what? For single people out there, single guys out there, you get one of these and you give it to a lady. If she likes it, then you got to keep her.
Yeah.
If she don't, you don't want nothing to do with her, man. That's how
That's
how I would use this. I'd be like, "What do you think about something like that?" And she's like, "Ew." I'd be like, "Okay,
that is so
get out of my house.
Funny.
Get out of my house."
Yep.
Juk. There's a word. The Tlingit word for that is juk. It means go away. I remember going out with my friends, in college. We guys would hit us, and we'd be like, "Ooh, juk," because they wouldn't know what that meant, but we did.
That's funny.
Juk.
Let me see the other thing.
Oh, this is my test purse. Sealskin.
Oh my goodness. So you're really you're good though. Like you're really talented. I mean, just the sewing is you're really talented.
That looks like something you just go like something you buy that purse at a store.
Thank you.
Like
that means
very
a
well
lot
done.
to me.
No,
Since
you
I got
a
machine,
great sense of style. I'm going to compliment sandwich you. It means I'm going to give you an insult.
Okay.
I don't think the strap is I'm underwhelmed by the strap. How could you put that strap on this bag?
Let me show you.
Okay.
Does it need to be like
that bag deserves a better. That
I will
bag
tell
something
you.
different.
Okay, it does.
That bag deserves a better strap.
It does deserve a better strap, but this is a prototype.
You're
So it was
testing
like
it.
you can do an over the shoulder, you can do a crossbody, or all those what.
My daughter
I'm
now.
old now,
My
so
daughter
I
wears
call it a fanny pack. Oops. It is a sling bag. I call it a fanny pack because I'm a 90s kid. You can wear it as a fanny pack, or how the sling bags, everyone's wearing them like this.
That's what my daughter does.
Yeah.
I called her bandolier.
So
I
that's
don't know
why I
what
did
it's-
this
I don't know
strap.
why she does that.
Because
Yeah.
I want it to be versatile and
Okay. That's a great. Yeah, that's her style. It's my
But
little
leather.
girl style.
maybe needs a leather
Yeah, I don't know,
strap.
something different. I'm just underwhelmed by it. But because the bag is so cool.
Okay, well my hats need a bill.
No,
My bags
that's
need
a
a
specialty item. That's a one-off specialty item. That's the win. You have the winning design. I'm just telling you
I gotta get this off.
I'm telling. Okay, I want my feedback to be. I want to make sure you understand my feedback.
Okay.
The bill is a one-off special.
Oh yeah, no, I
one
think that's
wants
a
that.
great idea.
No one wants that. I want that.
Well, I think
I'm just saying
I want that too.
I'm just saying your bag is so cool. I feel like it
needs a cooler
It
strap.
needs a
Yeah.
strap that's as cool as the bag. That's all.
Maybe leather.
Yeah, it's because you have a cool it's just got a style. I'll put it this way because I'm having a hard time. I'm not being very articulate. I have found when you look at fur sewing today,
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of fur sewing today that's it's just real gaudy. Like it's not sleek, you know what I mean? It's not like it's overstated. There's a lot of stuff that's really overstated.
Bougie.
Yeah, like just huge, you know, like huge, big, whatever.
Yeah.
But your stuff is it's more subtle. It's kind of more elegant. Do you know what I mean? Than things that are just, you know, you picture like a red fox vest,
right?
You're like a big red fox vest. It's just from across the parking lot. You'd be like, "There's a lady with a red fox vest."
For sure.
But with this stuff, it's like you know you could be sitting there 10 minutes, and all of a sudden I'd be like, "Holy shit, is that seal?" You know?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It has that feeling to it. Like it's subtle.
Thank you. I try to make them functional. Yeah, I want people to wear these. I don't want these to be on display. This is moose. It's a little heavier, you know, than deer leather, but it's not so stiff that it's going to be uncomfortable to wear. And I want you to be able to like put this in your hunting bag, you know, and pull it out and like shake it and put it on, and it not be bulky. And you can fold this up, and this can get soaking wet and still keep your head warm, and then you just dry it and shake it and it fluffs right back up. So I try to think about stuff like that when making items, because people are going to invest in you and your work and, you know, believe in me and buy something online without having felt it. Like, you guys know what it feels like now, and you can see the fur is tremendous, but a lot of people buy things without knowing what sea otter fur is like. And then they get it and they're like, whoa, because it is incredible and incredibly warm.
For the listeners, I'll share with you that prior to when we started recording, Heather was showing my two younger kids her sea otter stuff, and my daughter observed. All of our friends right now are out in our boats fishing, and my daughter observed that they shouldn't have gone out on the boats so that they could have heard about this.
I know. And I got an order for a sea otter or teddy bear and a hat, and super excited to make your kids some things. They deserve it. Kids are sacred, and
tell me,
and they deserve it.
Yeah, tell everyone what you were telling my kids about the importance of kids.
Oh yeah. I mean, kids are sacred, you know. They I just feel like they deserve so much, and so much more recognition than they get oftentimes. And we believe that they're sacred. They're the ones who are gonna learn all of this knowledge that we have, that we carry, and pass it down to the next generation. Just that they are really special, and they have a special place, and just having them present when you're doing things, like when I said it really hurts when I know that it's illegal for me to teach them how to work with some of our traditional foods and materials, because it shouldn't be that way. And they're just little sacred beings, and they deserve to learn and be there and not have those limitations on them when it comes to, you know, them learning and practicing their culture. And they're really the vehicles, you know. They're going to be the ones who pass that on. So as much as I can invest in youth, you know, my niece and nephew, but not just them, any and all youth, so they know that they are valued, they have a purpose. It's really important to know that you have a purpose in life, and like, my culture is a big part of, you know, my purpose, and then you know that you're important, and you have a responsibility to, you know, carry that on. It kind of helps give you some direction too in your life, and like, you learn what, you know, your cultural values are through practicing your culture, and like being around elders, or, you know, your aunties and uncles, And it's not something where someone would blatantly say, like, we value respect, or you know what I mean? You just learn it by being a part of the process, not wasting fish, only taking what you're going to use, using all parts of it, smoking the heads of the fish, the collars, the backbones, really minimizing waste. That's just all like learning your values by practicing, and that's really important. And kids do that without knowing, what's happening. And it's really special to watch and see and watch them like live their purpose. Be proud of that.
That's great advice. I practice it half the time, and half the time I'm freaking out on them because, like, last night I come in and there's granola bar, crumbs, my bed's somehow wet. I'm like, the hell's going on? What are you doing? And I forget all the stuff you just said.
Yeah.
Then I wake up in the morning and I recommit myself to being a good dad.
I think, and there you have the balance, right? It's all about balance. So you're not going to be 100% every time, every day. But, if you live by your values and you do what you can to align yourself and practice those, that's all you can really do. And you're not going to be 100% every day, so that's okay. Your kids are great. I got to spend a little time with them, and I wanted them to sit next to me during this podcast. I think they're so great. So.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah. Goodness
so,
sheesh.
Heather Douville, and I know on Instagram you're AK Moosey, so AKMOOSIE.
Yes.
And your fur and your product page is what?
Coastal Fur and Leather.
Man, I think you're gonna I have a feeling you're gonna get a few people checking out the stuff because it's just
Thank you so
beautiful.
much.
And thanks for bringing some of your traditional hooks and things.
Yeah, I really
these are cool.
appreciate you being able to share my culture with you and you sharing your stories with me. And I would love to be able to have you guys join us and fish with the Nuh one day. So you have an invite.
That'd be an
You're
honor,
more than
man.
welcome to.
That would be cool.
Yeah, and thanks for sharing all your knowledge. Even just before we recorded, you told me a lot of things about the fish and stuff that I hadn't known. So I appreciate all everything you've picked up over your life from your family, and that's great. Been great to visit with you.
Thank you.
All right, and you're gonna take that. You're gonna do the gig as the correspondent.
Oh yeah, I can't wait for you to call. I better be doing something though.
We'll warn you.
Yeah, better not. In the winter, I'll be sewing.
Yeah.
No, we'll warn you ahead of time. We'll find out when a good time is. All right,
That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you very
so
much.
How does that work? Or
sorry.
do we talk about
We'll
that?
talk about that later.
All right.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later. You met Corinne?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Corinne will deal with that. Sweet, man. What's this one called?
Sea monster. No.
No. You had Old Faithful. What was his name?
Oh, the veteran.
Oh, the veteran.
The veteran hook.
The
veteran
retired hook.
sea monster.
All right. Thanks for coming on, Heather.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
I got me a 30-06. Kicks like a mule's like a son of a bitch, but it's put a couple deer on a wall that I'm pretty proud of. It ain't nothing fancy, just a Savage 110 Walmart special that I got from a friend who was getting divorced and needed cash, so bought his gun. And there's an old red Ford sitting in my drive. We just keep on racking up the miles. It used to be my dad's, but now he's gone. It's got his pocket knife in the ashtray. It's been there ever since the day I got the keys to that truck from my mom. Almost everything God's got some kind of story to tell. And they're filled with a bunch of memories. Most of it wouldn't mean much to anybody else. It all means the world to me. There's a glass minute trap sitting on my desk right next to some pliers my Uncle Joe gave to my kids one day that made me think of his old hands. And the stuffed heart I won one night from my wife. The next day we met our firstborn child. We still laugh about it every now and then. Almost everything God's got some kind of story to tell, and they're filled with a bunch of memories. Most of it wouldn't mean much to anybody else, but it all means the world to me. I guess I could sell it all, get a little extra cash. It wouldn't be long, I'd be wanting it all back. Most of everything God's got some kind of story to tell. It's filled with a bunch of memories. Most of it wouldn't mean much to anybody else. It all